Hoş geldiniz. Welcome. I will speak in English. I will try to speak in English. Everyone understands. We have the simultaneous translation, and so that our guests also can understand what I am talking about. This is the second and last day of sommeliers'selection 2018. To summarize the event and to summarize what we are doing here now, as you know, downstairs, probably you tried or you are trying to taste 193 wines in 1 day or 2 days. The wines which we will taste today now is the result of the blind tasting that Isa and Frank did this morning. What we did, we sent an invitation to all wineries and importers in Turkey to suggest their wines to this event. But what we did was we limit the number in total per winery or importer. We said that the maximum number you can join to this event is 10 wines, not more. And within these 10 wines, you can submit 3 of them to the masterclass candidate as a masterclass candidate wine. So the largest winery in Turkey or the smallest winery in Turkey has the same chance. They showed 3 of their wines as candidate to this masterclass. As a result, we have 193 wines downstairs, but the candidate wines are in total 117 wines. So the number decreased to 117 wines. As it was impossible for them to taste 117 wines in 1 day, we divided the number in 2. They tasted 59 wines yesterday, and they selected 15 out of 59. And today, this morning, they tasted 58 wines from 9:30 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And they selected again 15 wines, and these wines are in front of you right now. They don't know which wines they have selected. We didn't tell them yet. We will tell them after they share their tasting notes with us. You will learn, they will learn at the same time. And that's the way this tasting goes on. So, I think it's time now for me to thank Isa and Frank. I will thank again at the end, of course, but the mic is yours. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. And the second day of the masterclass. I just like to see first how many people were here at the yesterday's tasting, just to understand. Okay, so it's a little less than half of the room was here yesterday, which is good. For those of you who weren't here, Taner already explained the mechanics of the tasting we have done. And the tasting was done in the sense that we both tasted the wines together in groups of 5s, and after each 5, we then exchange our opinions. By no means all of the wines in front of you were selected in agreement with both of us, but wine is such thing that it should, and in a way must, sort of create discussion between people, create talks amongst the table, on the table. So disagreements with wine is always normal, and I am sure some of you will disagree with some of our selection, but that's perfectly fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, and every opinion counts, or discounts, whatever. So, Frank.
Again, a warm welcome from my side. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frank Kemmer. I'm coming from Stuttgart, Germany. So, to add a little bit of an international perspective to this tasting, I think this is a very interesting approach. And one thing that's very important and that we not have mentioned yet, when we tasted the wine this morning and yesterday morning, we were not aware about the grape variety that we had in the glass. So it was a total blind tasting. That means if we had, for instance, a Bogaskere in the class, we didn't judge it under the roof of Bogaskere, we judged it as a red wine. So that's probably a different way of understanding a wine. Is it a good wine or is it not a good wine? We did not look whether it's a good Bogaskere or not a good or not so good Bogaskere. So we're just totally open and very objective to the wines. I think that makes it very interesting and very fair. And what Isa said is very true. With most of the wines, we have been very close with our scores. But a couple of those wines, we have been separated from each other. One of us was very high, the other one was a little more low. We did not level that out. We kept our own opinion about these wines. I will explain why I have scored that wine rather higher. Isa probably will explain why he scored that wine a little bit lower, and it's up to you to decide what is your own opinion about these wines. Okay? Shall we start with the first one? Let's start with the first one. Today we had a little bit more of white wines like yesterday. Yesterday we only had one white wine in the masterclass, right? But today we have 4, which is good. And for the first one, probably for the first 2, you will hear us speaking about wood and oak influence. Probably the whole afternoon we're going to speak a lot about wood and oak influence, because both of these wines have oak influence, definitely, but both of these wines in a totally different way. The first wine, for me, showed a lovely citrusy flavor in the nose, with just a tiny little touch of that oak spice. And what I found very interesting with that wine is that the flavor on the palate was different from the one in the nose. We really should focus on that. Many times the wine smells the same as it tastes, but sometimes wines really taste different than they smell, and this is the case with that one. You will see it's very citrusy in the nose, but on the palate it's much more of a tropical fruitiness, which I liked very much. What I also liked about that wine is that nice texture the wine has, you know, how it feels on the palate. Actually, if you see the color of that wine, it's not totally clear. So it's obviously not filtered. That gives the wine a certain texture, a certain mouth feel, which fits very well to that type of wine, I think. So I wrote down really smart use of the oak to make it a very balanced, rounded wine. And it's very much in the fumé style that you usually find in California with the Sauvignon Blancs over there. Very good balance and harmony.
Yeah. What I enjoyed about this wine was the fruit structure, the richness of it on the palate, and as well as the cleanness of it. Actually, Frank, I'm not entirely convinced this may have any oak in it. If it has, again, bravo, it's very well done. If it hasn't, then it's probably maybe extended lease contact or something like that. But it's nonetheless very savory wine with a great texture, like you said, and a great food wine, actually. With food, this is a type of wine, you have one glass or one taste and you start to think about food immediately.
Yeah, what kind of food would you serve with that? I mean, tell us.
To be honest, in this country, there isn't a meal, including the breakfast, that is taken without a salad. This would go with many salads very well as some of the shellfish, oysters, if anyone eats oysters or can find oysters. Yeah, beautiful, excellent.
Good. So what it is?
Okay, the winery is Arda Winery. It's Narince Reserve, 2017, from Edirne. There is 6 months oak.
Okay.
13% alcohol. Arda, 2017.
Can you tell us the number in the list?
The number
Number
in
what?
the
No, in the tasting list.
in the şeyde katalogda mı? Evet. Katalogdaki sayısı nedir? Bu arada Arda şaraplarından. Buyurun, hoş geldiniz. Mikrofon verelim şuradan hemen. 19. Ayç.
Edirne'nin 10 kilometre kuzeyindeki Arda Şaraphanesi'nin etrafındaki narince bağımızdan elde ettiğimiz üzümlerden. Küçük bir bağ, 5 dönüm kadar. Her sene işte 1000 şişe civarında bize şarap veriyor. Bu sene biraz doludan zarar gördüğü için daha da az hasatımız maalesef. Elle hasat edildi. Çok ciddi bir ayıklama sürecinden geçti. Çünkü çok büyük salkımları olan ve çok ince kabukları olan bir üzüm. İç kısmında hastalıklar gelişebiliyor. Dolayısıyla her salkımı elle ayıklayıp ondan sonra whole bunch press yaptık. Yani salkımla presledik. Arkasından %40'ını fıçıda, %60'ını da çelik tankta fermente ettik. Sabit ısıda 18 derecede. Kullandığımız fıçı 3. kullanım bir fıçıydı. Dolayısıyla fıçı etkisi hakikaten çok zor fark edilebilir bir etki. Bu şekilde. Yani filtrasyon yapmadık. Doğrusu burası için hemen şişeledik. Şişeleme önümüzdeki hafta gerçekleşecek. 6 ayda önceki etiketten kalma aslında 4 ay kaldı yani fıçıda.
Yavuz Bey çok teşekkür ederiz. Sağ olun. Elinize sağlık.
Yeah. Good. Let's move on to the second wine. With the second wine, I think there is no discussion whether this wine has been matured in oak or not. This is definitely oak influenced. And it's not sure? No, this is definitely oak influenced and really intense oak influenced, but in a very good way. I mean, if we speak about heavy oaked wines, it's not necessarily negative, because this really was a very high quality oak. You can really taste that. What I like very much about that wine is the complexity of the flavors. You know, we do have rather similar flavors like in the first one. You know, that citrusy, fruity, apricot flavor profile on the one hand, but we do also have this additional greenish, herbaceous, fresh aroma that gives a nice balance to that wine. And additionally, we have the vanilla and the spices of the really fine wood. It's medium weight on the palate. Actually, if you smell the wine, you probably would expect something more heavy, but it's really balanced. It's medium weight, which is good. And probably the oak is a little bit intense on the palate, but you can feel that nice fruit is behind there. When I said that the first one is more kind of Fumé Blanc style from Napa Valley, this is much more the Bordeaux style, the white Bordeaux style you would expect from Graf or Pessac-Léognan, where you also have the combination of that ripe fruitiness and that slight herbaceousness in the aroma. This is a real ambition wine. And I don't think that this wine is meant for initial drinking, for today's drinking. This wine is meant for cellaring. You can keep that wine for another 2 or 3 years in the cellar, and it would develop even more. So this is really a fine wine. Again, very fine texture. Here, I think it's a blend of at least 2 grape varieties.
What I liked on this one is the reduction is often can be quite a damaging way of making wine. If it is not controlled properly, it can destroy a wine, and it can destroy the whole sort of batch of a wine, and you basically ruin a year's work. But in this instance, there is a very smart reduction, just adds a bit of complexity to the wine. And I also like the acidity structure here. I do like the structure, and I do think that this wine is a little young at this moment. It needs some time, maybe a year or 2, before it settles properly and the oak is more integrated. But nonetheless, it is very enjoyable. I find it difficult actually to guess the grape variety entirely, because acidity sits somewhere, the varietal character sits somewhere. So I'm curious to see what it is. Thank you.
Okay. Let's open.
How would you level the acidity of it? Medium acidity, medium plus?
Medium plus.
Okay. So the second wine is from Usça Winery, Sone 99. Viognier Chardonnay blend. It's from Manisa, Urla, 13% alcohol, 7 months oak, and we have Serpil Hanım here to talk about the wine. The catalog number is 33.
Öncelikle event için size tekrar çok teşekkür etmek istiyorum. Dün Sone 76 ile buradaydım. Bugün Sone 99'da buradayım. Çok gururluyum, çok keyifli. Evet, 2016 hasadı. Viognier kontrollü bağlarımızdan Viognier üzümüyle Chardonnay'i kupaj yaptık. Chardonnay kendi bağlarımıza ait. %75 Viognier, %25 Chardonnay kupajıdır. Yaklaşık 7 ay kadar yeni Nadali Fransız meşe fıçılarda dinlendirdik. Beğendiğiniz için çok memnun oldum. Keyifle tüketin. Mersi.
Sağ ol. Teşekkür ederiz. Ellerinize sağlık.
So we move on to wine number 3 on our tastings. I don't know what number it is on the catalog. I quite like this wine. It at the moment it's not maybe giving too much, but if I enjoy the compactness of it. It's holding it together very nicely due to its high acidity. It's very refreshing acidity actually. It's still young. It will need a little bit more time. And I do think there is some oak aging, which is nicely balanced with the rest of the wine. And I do also think that it will probably benefit from some further aging. And definitely, again, as aperitif, it could be perfect, but also with food. It's a lovely wine, and it's not overpowered by oak. The oak is merely rounding things up for it and just doing a great job.
That's right. And I want to add 2 words to what Isa said. The first word is complexity. The first 2 wines are rather easy to taste. You just smell it and it smells good, and you taste it and it tastes good. With this wine, there is another dimension to it. You can't judge that wine by just having one sniff and one sip. You have to go to the glass again and again because there are many layers of flavor in the glass, and it's really a very fine aroma that you can find in the glass. So here we definitely have a complexity in the wine. And the second word I want to add is minerality. When I smell that wine, then beside the fruit and the oak, you have a sensation of stoniness or dustiness in the glass, where you really can smell the minerality that adds to the fruit, and that gives complexity to the wine. And again, sommeliers love to speak about minerality, but what is minerality actually? Is it a flavor or is it a taste? I think it can be both. When we smell it, we smell that stony flavor in the nose, but when we taste that wine on the palate, we can actually taste the minerality as well. When you swallow the wine and after the finish has gone, when the acidity is gone, when the flavor is gone, you probably still have a kind of a salty impression on the palate. And this is something that is very, very unique, especially for white Burgundy, and something which is always a key point for high quality white Burgundy. So yes, I totally agree. This is a really very fine, smart winemaking on international quality standards.
Let's see the wine. It's Carmen Selection from Diren Winery. Carmen Selection from Diren Winery. It is Narince Chardonnay blend 2016 from Tokat region. The catalog number is 36. 13.6% alcohol, 12 months oak.
A question.
Isa?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Please.
When we define minerality, we say, for example, pebblestone or gravel or sands, volcanic sands. We all define this as minerality or earthiness.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Usually, when we do master sommelier tasting technique trainings, we actually ask the candidates or the participants to distinguish between organic and anorganic minerality. You know, all that organic minerality is what you call earthiness, when it's like wet earth or wet leaves, truffles, etc. But this is definitely stony minerality. You know, stone, sands, pebbles, etc. But it's definitely not a minerality as you can find it in Riesling, for instance, with the schist minerality, which is totally different. So this is definitely more of a stony, pebbly minerality to me, or probably even limestoney.
I mean, minerality is something that divides opinion in the wine world. I'm not a person that actually is very keen on this term. But we need a word to describe certain taste sensation when we are tasting wine. So when we use the word minerality, we don't necessarily mean that the grape or the wine has taken that mineral from the soil and transplanted it into the grape, and then from there it went to the wine. I don't think anyone actually means that. It's a tasting sensation descriptor. You know, sometimes you taste a wine, it does taste like stone. So that's one term you use for minerality, but it's a really difficult one to quantify or to prove where it comes from. But there is certainly winemaking related. A lot of the mineral flavors that we talk about comes from sulfur origin, sulfur dioxide or reaction of it in the wine. But like I said, it's something that really divides opinion in the wine world, and it's hard to describe it fully or get an agreement, in fact, amongst people. So I would look at it that way, and I wouldn't really worry too much about where exactly it's coming from. But generally speaking, reduction is a good source of minerality.
Okay, thank you. We can pass to the fourth wine. Okay. Yeah.
The fourth wine, I'll just carry on with that. Again, here is something totally contrasting style, quite aromatic in structure, and I believe this is one of the grape varieties that this country should do much more and much better with. Some of the countries in Mediterranean making some brilliant sweet wines from this variety. Some producers already started to experiment with it in this country to make some sweet wines. But I say have a look at what they are doing in Pantelleria and maybe look into the technique of making those wines, because there is a lack of sweet wine in this country. And maybe it's because you guys don't drink enough of it. But definitely it could create a world, it could create a style of sweet wine that the world would expect and accept from Turkey.
Something that is very important with wines of that style, with that expressive aromatic wine, is that they have the right structure to carry that fruit. And unfortunately, most of the grape varieties who can produce a flavor profile like this are rather low acid. Like this one. This is not really a high acid wine. This is rather moderate to moderate minus acidity. So it's very important to have a backbone to it, and you probably can feel it in that wine. There's a certain texture to it, a certain tannin grip in the finish, which gives this wine a nice backbone, so that this wine has an upright personality. It's not flabby. Although it's a full-bodied wine, it has a nice backbone that helps to get the wine in balance. And again, these wines are really good food wines, especially when you have asparagus, for instance, especially when you have really rich flavored fish dishes, grilled fishes, go perfectly with those wines. When you go to Greece, they drink a lot of dry muscat wine with grilled fish, and that goes really well. So I totally agree with you. These wines are probably not that popular today, but there can be very good food wines, certainly.
Okay. The wine number 4 is from Nif Bağları Bornova Misketi 2016. And Guy is with us today to talk about the wine. The catalog number is 53.
Herkese merhabalar öncelikle. İsa'nın dediğine çok katılıyorum. Bornova misketi ülkemizin çok önemli değerlerinden biri. Bir tarihi miras. Biz nif bağlarına ilk başladığımız günden beri, ilk iki çıkardığımız üründen beri sek Bornova misketiydi. Daha o zamanlar Bornova misketi bile adı pek geçen bir üzüm değilken, genellikle daha ortalama tatlı şaraplara kullanılırken biz sek olarak Bornova misketinin potansiyeline çok inandık. O günden beri de kendimizi geliştirerek Bornova misketini farklı stillerde en iyi şekilde nasıl yansıtırız bunun için çabalıyoruz. Bu tattığınız Bornova misketi %100 Bornova misketi ve hiç fıçıya girmedi. Biz nif bağlarında özellikle beyazlarımızı hiç fıçıya koymayarak o nu saf halleriyle üzümün kendi karakterini yansıtmasını tercih ediyoruz. Bu da öyle, hiç fıçıya girmedi. Tamamen kendi saf haliyle. Zaten bağlarımızın bulunduğu bölge Nif Bağları'nın, Nif Dağı'nın eteklerinde Bornova misketinin orijini, yani İzmir'deki Bornova ilçesine 40 kilometre mesafede bir yer. Neredeyse doğduğu topraklar diyebiliriz. O yüzden aldığımız sonuçta tesadüfi bir sonuç olmadığını düşünüyoruz. İsa'nın dediği gibi çok ciddi bir beyaz Bornova misketi ve Türkiye'de özellikle biz Türkler olarak dikkatimizi ve ciddiyetimizi daha fazla vermemiz gereken bir üzüm çeşidi. O anlamda bugün seçilmiş olmasından da ekstra bir mutluluk ve memnuniyet duyuyorum. Dediğim gibi bizim kalbimize diğer ürünlerimizden farklı yeri olan bir üzüm çeşidi. Teşekkürler.
Teşekkür
Umarım
ederiz.
herkes aynı fikirleri hissetmiştir.
Elinize sağlık.
Okay, let's go to the reds. The first red wine was really a nice surprise for us. It was also one of the first red wines we had in the tasting this morning. And when I smelled in that wine, I initially asked Isa whether we do have Gamay as a grape variety in Turkey as well. Because with the first nose, it initially reminds me to a high quality cru of Beaujolais, with that lovely, lovely plummy and berry jam fruit. But it is not Gamay, definitely. But nevertheless, it does have that lovely charm of a good Beaujolais. It has that lovely texture, nice tannins. It's very rounded, a good fruit body. It's probably not the most complex wine on this earth, but it's a real charmer. I mean, it's easy to love that wine. It's really well made, and the French say it's très flatteur. You know, it's just a charming wine. You initially love that wine. But I think one point is very important when you drink that wine, to serve it a little bit colder, a little bit chilled at 14, 15 degrees Celsius. That would lift up the acidity a little bit and would make it a little bit more lively. So this is really a very cheerful wine that I would love to drink for lunch in summertime.
Yeah, I think I also like the lightness of it. It's not really a heavy wine, but what I enjoyed most, which gave it a very savory structure, is that slight volatile acidity, that almost like a hint of balsamic to it, but only a very faint hit, and it just lifted up for me and made it very savory.
Yes. The number 5 is a new winery for me. It is called Vinaida Pinot Noir, barrel fermented single vineyard, in 2016. The catalog number is 71. It is 14.1 alcohol and 9 months in oak. And Mr. Uğur is he with us? Okay. Rica ederim. Buyurun.
Çok teşekkürler her şeyden önce. Ayda gelemediği için onun yerine ben buradayım. 2 gündür tüm yorumlar için çok teşekkür ediyorum öncelikle. İşletmemiz Seferihisar, İzmir Seferihisar Gödence'de 2015 yılında kurulmuş. 2016'da ilk üretimini yapmış. Butik ama çok butik bir hane. İşletmede, üretimde sadece 2 kişi çalışıyor, eşim ve ben. O yüzden üretimimiz de oldukça kısıtlı. Tabii bu başarının tümü, ki 2 gündür yorumlardan çıkarttığım sonuç bu. İkinci kariyerini ilerlemiş yaşında Fransa'da hiç Fransızca bilmeden, önce Fransızca öğrenip sonra önoloji master'ı yapan eşim Ayda Şeker Kalelioğlu'na ait Her şey için çok teşekkür ediyorum.
Benim bir sorum var size. Vinifikasyon aşamasında
Evet.
doğal maya mı kullanıyorsunuz?
Hayır.
Tamam.
Yani sadece şöyle bir özelliği var. Tüm kırmızı şaraplarımızda vinifikasyon integral yapıyoruz. Fıçılarımız farklı, altları tekerlekli. Bütün proses alkolik fermentasyondan başlayarak sonrasında meserasyon, daha sonraki malolaktik fermentasyonda aynı şekilde aynı fıçıların içerisinde oluyor. Böyle bir üretim.
Çok
Ben
sağ olun.
teşekkür ederim.
Ellerinize sağlık.
Yeah. You? Yeah. You start? No, this one. Number 623.
Number 6.
So we move on to our next wine, and it's another, relatively speaking, a lighter wine. As we go on the tastings, you are going to find some other wines that I think quite rich and full-bodied. And initially, when I had this wine, I found the nose slightly closed, if maybe a little not giving much. Actually, you had to really work on it. The palate was much more opulent, and the structure of the ripe fruit, the acidity, that slight volatileness of it, was very refreshing. And I enjoyed that sort of fruit and the acidity reaction in this wine more than the tonic structure of it.
I totally agree. The key point for this wine is, on the one hand, that nice, ripe, sweetish fruit on the palate, which is lifted by a lovely fresh acidity. We sometimes forget that that also red wines need to have freshness, not only white wines. We need to have a certain freshness in red wines as well as we expect it from white wines, and this wine has a lovely acidity, freshness to it. And as Lisa said, it's not the most full-bodied wine in the world. I think the concept of that wine is not body, it's length. So it's not a white wine, it's a long wine. Check how long the flavor lasts on the palate. So this is really more of a wine for a connoisseur who can appreciate the length of the flavor on the palate.
Okay. The wine number 6 is from Vinkara Winery. It is Öküz Gözü Wine House 2015 from Kalecik region, 13.5 alcohol, no oak, and catalog number is 84. If Mr. Candaş, the winemaker, is here, please, can he make it here? No, I don't think so. Okay. Oh,
there he is.
Here he is. Candaş Bey. Buyurun.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. We had a real struggle about taking Öküz Gözü to our vineyards. But I think we made a good thing, because we start from the vineyard to work to increase the quality of the grape, and then we use some techniques, production techniques, to increase the body acidity, this full fruitiness. So I'm really happy that you enjoyed the wine. So thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to
Welcome.
answer them.
Thank you very much. Sağ olun. Ellerinize sağlık.
Okay, wine number 7. We both had the same score, Isa and I, but we both agreed with this wine. When you do wine tasting, sometimes it's important that you not only score what is actually in the glass, but you also score what can develop out of that wine with further aging. And I think this is very important with that wine. It's already quite good, but I wrote down, wait for 1 year to integrate tannin and wood, and then it will be very good. So this wine really has potential, or need to have another year of aging to really show its complete quality. Lovely warm and complex fruit with spicy oak, good tannin, nice acidity, but wood dominating still a little bit on the palate.
Yes, I think to actually give this wine a chance or like it, I had to overlook the oak a little bit and look for the fruit and the structure of the wine. and I have kind of gambled on the fact that the oak would integrate rather than remain dominant in the wine. So, with a little question mark, I think that oak would integrate given enough time, but I do like the fruit structure and the character of the wine. It's an unyielding character at this stage. It really is quite cornered, and it doesn't sort of compromise from its character. But you know, sometimes that's how things are.
Okay, so the wine number 7 is from Urla Winery, Urla Boğazkere 2016. The catalog number is 103, 14% alcohol, 9 months oak. And Çiğdem Hanım is here to talk about the wine.
Merhabalar. Çiğdem ben Urla Şarapçılık'tan. Bizim Boğazkere'de en büyük şeyimiz şu. Biz Boğazkere'yi Urla'da yetiştiriyoruz. Kendi kontrollü bağlarımızdan. Ve dolayısıyla diğer Boğazkere'lerden biraz daha farklı tattığınız kadarıyla. Çünkü boğazı kermiyor. Biraz daha yumuşak. Hep bunu söyleriz ve hani doğru olan bir şey bu. 14 derece alkol. 1 senede meşe fıçı görüyor. Bunun dışında da herhalde başka bir şey yok.
Meşe
Boğaz yakan demek miydi?
Boğazı kermek demek. Bizim boğazkerimiz boğazı kermiyor.
Kermenin anlamı neydi?
Boğazı keren, yani böyle geren bir yapısı var. Sert bir yapısı var. Evet, ısıran. Bizimkisi ısırmıyor ama şöyle söyleyeyim. Ben Urla'da 8. yılıma girdim. Yani Urla'nın doğuşundan beri beraberim. Ve bizim Boğazkere için söylenen hep budur ama her sene de çok iyi ödüller alıp çok da beğenilir açıkçası. Farklı bir Boğazkere çünkü Urla'nın coğrafyasına uygun bir Boğazkere. O yüzden biraz diğerlerinden farklı.
şey var mı? Amerikan meşesi var mı hiç?
Biz Fransız meşe fıçısı
Sadece
kullanıyoruz.
Fransız, tamam.
O yüzden biraz vanilyamsı yumuşak bir tat almış olabilirsiniz. Hepsi bundan kaynaklı.
Tamam.
Teşekkür ederim.
Sağ olun, ellerinize sağlık. Can Bey'e selamlarımız.
Good. Lovely. Okay, we move on to wine number 8, right? Yeah, I'm really happy that we have that wine now in the glass, but this one was already very good, but you probably will see there's another step, another dimension towards the next one, another really step in quality. What I liked very much by the next one is, again, the complexity and also the Reserva-like style of that wine. It really shows that lovely aging in wood. And what is especially good in that wine, I wrote down very good tannin management. You know, I already said that yesterday. Tannin quality is something in red wine that became very important internationally in wine judging, because you can do a lot in the cellar to increase fruit, and you can even use, you know, selected yeasts to create a certain flavor in your wine, etc. But there is no shortcut for high tannin quality. You only can achieve high tannin quality by using high quality grapes and using high quality winemaking. So when you taste that wine, check the tannin quality. There's a lot of tannin in that wine, but it's really of a very high quality. It's kind of a sweetish tannin that does not dry out the finish.
I think from pretty much here on, next few wines you will find that their tannic levels will go up considerably. Many years ago, not many years ago, maybe 10 plus years ago, when in this country the change in the wine industry, change in the winery has started, the change has been kind of in a strange way, not the most natural way it should have happened. The winemaking techniques got better before the vineyards. And I think that's still the case. The winemaking techniques actually in this country now, they are at a level that they understand how to make good wine. But I still think that there is a lot more work to be done in the vineyards with regards to canopy management, managing the sun exposure or the opposite of it, in order to optimize the quality of the grapes. So that of course has something to do with the structure of vineyard ownership, more and more wineries are now owning their own vineyard. That's a fantastic thing to do, because that is guaranteeing the quality in the future. But also, I think some of the growers are now making an extra effort to grow better grapes. And we have tasted some wines with extremely good tannins, but we have also tasted some wines that tannins were just poor, and the whole thing was destroyed because of it. So I think more work probably is needed in the vineyard. But with regards to that, I did enjoy the slight meaty, ripe, fruity characteristic of this wine, and the finish, quite a long finish. I think you can drink it with food now, but it should hold next few years nicely as well.
Yeah. So the wine number 8 is Sur 2013 from Suvla Winery. It's a blend of Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, Malbec. It's from Eceabat region. The catalog number is 121. The alcohol is 14.5, 14 months oak. And about the tannin management, our master sommeliers were very right, because I am looking and I read here French oak, American oak, Bulgarian oak. So very complicated, tannin management they have, probably. Yeah. And Berin Hanım, is she here? Berin Hanım buradaysa davet edelim. Katalog numarası 121 ve Berin Hanım'a mikrofonu uzatalım. Buyurun.
Herkese merhabalar. Suvla şaraplarından Berrin ben, pazarlama yöneticisiyim. Sur, Suvla'nın en popüler şaraplarından bir tanesi ve en çok ödül alan şarabı da aslında Sur. Dolayısıyla bu ilk 15'e seçilmiş olması çok gurur verici ama şaşırtıcı değil. Yani çok mutluyuz. Sur dediğim gibi Suvla'nın neredeyse önüne geçmiş bir şarap. Bizi çoğu kişi Sur olarak biliyor markamızın ismini. Sır ve Sur, evet. Sır daha zarif, daha elegan. Biz ona kadın diyoruz. Sur'a da erkek, kaslı, gövdeli, güçlü bir şarap diye tanımlıyoruz. Sur diğer şaraplarımızdan farklı olarak çok farklı boyutta şişelere sahip. 6 litre, 3 litre, Magnum, 75 cl, 50 cl gibi varyasyonları var. Beğendiğinize çok sevindim. Teşekkür ederim.
Ellerinize sağlık. Tebrikler. Teşekkür ederiz.
So the next wine, the tannins on the next wine, you will find that they are really soft, remarkably ripe, rounded. Relatively speaking, this style of wine, quite rich, full-bodied, and powerful wine. And I think it has got slightly a wild character to it as well. It's not a tamed wine; it's very wild in style.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also wrote down the word character and underlined that this wine really has a personality. For me, it's very important that when I taste a wine or when I drink a wine, I always ask myself, do I remember the taste of that wine tomorrow again? Or have I forgotten how it tastes 2 hours after I've drunk it? And this wine really has personality. It has a certain character, a certain uniqueness. And I still can remember how I tasted that wine earlier today. The flavor profile is something unique, which is very important. As Isa says, very good tannins, but not only the qualities of the tannin itself, the tannin is very good integrated in the fruit body, in the powerful fruit body of that wine. So again, this is really a wine for the international market, for the international wine scene.
So I am seeing Isa is very curious about the wine. It is from Barbare, Reserve Premier, and its vintages, it's a blend of vintages 2009, 11, 12. And it's a Merlot, Grenache, Syrah, Murvet, and Cabernet Sauvignon blend, 15% alcohol. 36 months French oak, medium toast. Catalog number is 124, and winemaker Sinem Hanım is here. We are happy to see you, Sinem. Here's the mic. Thank you.
Herkese merhaba. Barbare olarak geldik biz de buraya. Şaraplarımızın ödül alması ve emeğimizin karşılığını almak çok güzel oldu bizim için de. Herkese çok teşekkür ederim. Premier bizim için özel bir şarap. 3 yılın karışımı, 2012 ağırlıklı bir şarabımız. Ve ürettiğimiz bütün 5 çeşidin içinde bulunduğu bir şarap. Sadece grenajı biz orada fıçıya almadık. Onun dışında diğer üzümlerin hepsi fıçıdan alınarak kupacı yapıldı. 36 ay fıçıda beklettik ve 3600 şişe ürettik. Herkese teşekkür ederim. Sağ olun.
Sağ olun. Ellerinize sağlık.
You go. You're up, I'm down.
So this is the next wine here we are going to taste is a wine that there was only a slight disagreement between two of us. I think it would be safe to say that we kind of both enjoyed it. We just didn't enjoy it at the same level. For me, what I found and liked about it is that it was fruit-driven. Maybe I like that style of wine. Juicy, refreshing acidity with good tonic structure. And I find the finish nice and long. It didn't just disappear on the palate. And it is not maybe the most blockbuster style of wine, but I enjoy that sort of leanness of it.
And I totally agree with Isa what he has said. Technically, this wine is very well made. Everything is correct with that wine. The only thing I'm missing, and that's in contrary to the previous one, is personality. You know, it's just, to me, this is a very good wine, but it's just middle of the road. I don't think that I can remember that wine in 2 hours anymore, because it's just very good wine, but there's nothing, no distinction, no personality to it that I could identify on this wine. But technically speaking, the wine is very well made.
So, it is from Küp Winery, Beşi bir yerde. The blend is Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Syrah, Boğazkere, Öküzgözü. It's from Güney Bekili region, 13.3 alcohol, no oak, and the catalog number is 134. And Zafer Bey, here, welcome. Buyurun, hoş geldiniz.
Tekrar merhaba. Bence bir şarabın karakterini veren en temel şeylerden bir tanesi üreten firmanın ruhunu katmış olması gerekiyor ve üreten kişinin yani önoloğumuzun kişiliği. O nedenle ben sözü aslında önoloğumuz Sabah Bey'e vermek istiyorum. Şarabımızı kendisi anlatsın.
Evet, Sabah Bey. Tamam.
Teşekkür ederim. Merhaba, hoş geldiniz. Küp Şarapçılık'ta 2010'dan beri çalışıyorum. Ve Epic serisinin başlangıcı da 2010'du zaten. Bölge çok enteresan. Bölgeyle tanışınca hem tabii üretici de öyle 1959 kuruluşu ve şu anda ikinci nesil yönetimin başında ve ben de onlara destek vermeye çalışıyorum. Toprak yapısı olarak, iklim olarak çok farklı bir bölge, çok sevdiğim bir bölge, Bekirli bölgesi. 700 metre ile 900 metre arasında değişen rakımlarda yetişen üzümler var, çok çeşitli üzümler var. Aşağı yukarı 800 dönüm bağı kontrol ediyoruz. Anlaşmalı bağcılarla 1500 dönüm bağ kontrolümüz altında. Tabii üretim kapasitemiz yüksek. Bu yüzden o potansiyeli daha geniş yani daha fazla şarap nasıl yapabilirizin peşindeyiz. Beşi bir yerde böyle bir proje. En sevdiğimiz şarapları aslında bir kupaj şarabı. Bu da biz şimdi bu sene biraz daha üzerine yoğunlaşmaya çalışıyoruz. İnsanlara anlatmaya çalışıyoruz. 5 tane çeşidi nasıl karıştırıyorsunuz? Bizim uzmanlığımız işte burada başlıyor. Gaya danışmanlık olarak ben de insanlara hani önolog, tabii ki herkes önolog kullanmak zorunda değil. Zaten o kadar güzel üreticiler çok güzel şarap yapıyorlar. Ama buradaki şey biraz da tecrübe aslında. Yalnızca örolog için de söylemiyorum, şarap yapımcısı açısından. Belli senelerde, belli oranlarda değişik üzümleri kullanıyoruz. Özür dilerim, üzümlerin karışımlarındaki oranlar değişiyor ama her zaman aynı tadı yakalamaya çalışıyoruz. İnsanlara işte kırmızı şarap yemekte minimum derecede nasıl uyar onun peşindeyiz. Beşi bir yerde de böyle bir projenin sonucu. Çok teşekkür ederim seçtiğiniz için. Çok sağ olun.
Diyorum. Clark söyledi, bu şarap içtikten biraz vakit geçtiğinde, birkaç saat geçtiğinde şarabı unuturum diye. Aslında çok haklı. Çünkü sonuçta 20 liralık fiyat kalite dengesine baktığınızda çok doğru bir ürün. O yüzden de sonuna kadar katılıyorum.
Evet. Teşekkürler. Bu arada küp şarapların dün de seçilen bir şarabı vardı. İkinci seçim Epic. Tebrik ederiz. Sağ olun.
$20. I'm gonna buy a case of that. Okay, the next.
I will send you a case.
Yeah, the next wine is kind of an experiment.
He is German, by the way.
His fault.
The next wine is kind of an experiment because this is the only wine where Isa and I could not agree. We have totally different views on that wine. So we decided we will give the verdict to you. You can decide whether it's a good wine. Well, it's not a bad wine, not at all. But whether it's a medium wine or whether it's a high quality wine, it's up to you to decide that. I was rather high in my score, and I'm gonna explain you why I think this is really high quality wine, and Isa is a little bit lower, and he's gonna explain his point of view afterwards. You know what I liked about that wine is it's probably the most filigree wine, the most lightweight and elegant wine we had in the whole flight today. And sometimes these elegant wines tend to be overseen when tasted together with these more intense wines. So I liked very much about that wine, that discreet complexity, that discreet style, that discreet freshness, that inner freshness of that wine. There is no really acidity backbone to lift the wine up. There's a certain inner freshness to it. So to really understand it, to appreciate that wine, you really have to have very fine senses. And since I'm coming from a very much Burgundy background, I'm more up to these wines than to the more full-bodied wine. But actually, with that nice inner freshness, the filigree acidity, and that really fine-grained complexity, I think this is really a nice wine for connoisseurs. Not for everyone, but for connoisseurs with fine senses.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree because when I taste wine or food for that matter, I tend to not be too keen on flavors that are muddled up or mixed up. What I found in this one is that the flavor profile of the wine is one sort of chunk sits in your glass, you smell it, but to identify different aromas, it's quite difficult. It's just muddled up. That's what I found it. It's not very full-bodied, I agree. It's light wine, but once you have the wine, you are left with a tonic grip on your palate that dries out. So yeah, I wasn't as keen as Frank was, but then, that's what wine is. Because I'm sure some of you or most of you are aware, each person has a unique fauna of bacteria in their mouth. And this fauna of bacteria actually affects how one perceives flavors and taste. So it's normal that there is disagreements among people.
Okay, saying this is from Umur Bey Winery, Reserve, Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot 2015, 14.8 alcohol level, 15 months, French oak, and from Tekirdağ region. Catalog number 140. So we can go to the next wine, if you like.
Yeah.
So, on our next wine, there are actually, in some respects, on the nose, a hint of similarity with the previous wine, but that is to me where the similarity begins and ends. There is a good sort of jammy, I say it in a positive way, ripe fruit, and has got quite a rich structure, touch of green notes. By that I mean like pepperiness, bell pepper, and hint of mint, and reflecting actually quite a good varietal character. Rich and full-bodied, the tannins, you can feel that, and you should feel that with the grape varieties we are tasting, and has a lovely long finish as well.
We have both agreed with this wine. We have both scored this wine rather high. And I totally agree with what Isa said. This is a very dense, very juicy wine. But above that, there is also that lovely additional flavor profile. He already mentioned the pepper. I wrote down there's a touch of mahogany, nutty flavors, tea leaf character, tobacco leaf to it. And that adds something to balance that really intense fruit. So this is really a masculine wine, a big masculine wine. But nevertheless, it does have complexity. It is balanced. So this is really very good wine.
Yes. And the number 12 from Barbare Prestige 2012, 70% Cabernet Sauvignon, 30% Merlot, 14.5 alcohol, 18 months French oak medium toast from Tekirdağ region, catalog number 150. And Sinem Hanım, are you here? Welcome again. Evet. Congratulations, tebrik ederim.
Teşekkür ederim ben de. Çok sağ olun. Tekrar konuşmama gerek yok sanırım.
Bunun hakkında bir şeyler anlatmak
2012
istersiniz.
sezonunu anlatabilirim. 2012 sezonu bizim için bağcılık anlamında çok kötü ama şarap olarak çok iyi ürünlerin olduğu bir sezon oldu. Bağcılıkta çok zorlandık ama emeğimizin karşılığını şarap olarak çok iyi aldık.
Peki.
Teşekkür ederim.
Teşekkürler, ellerinize sağlık. Teşekkürler.
Thank you.
So this next wine we are going to look at, I think this was probably one of my favorite wines. I don't know what score I gave to the last two wines. If it is any higher, I'll let you know. I found this wine in the glass. I found this wine.
You did?
I found this wine to have a very good use of oak, well integrated, and the fruit structure was very clean, precise, sleek fruit, blueberries, blackberries, and with hint of mint again, and also full and ripe tannins, very rounded, very modern, but very well made. So I really enjoyed this.
You know, with this wine, when you do tasting, sometimes it's really important that you really stick to your own opinion and that you fight for your own opinion. But sometimes it's also important that you listen to others, and probably they have a different perspective, and probably they can help you to understand a wine much better, or they probably help you to judge or to score the wine in a more fair way, let's put it that way. And you know, with this wine, we had an interesting flight. We had a flight of very tannic wines, and this was number 4 in that flight. So I tasted all these wines, and when I came to that wine, I liked the flavor very much, as Isa described the flavor, which is really lovely, ripe, mature flavor. I even found a little bit of black olives in there as well. I liked that very much. But then I took a tasting sip, and I disliked the tannin structure. There was so much tannin, it was drying out. And we were discussing about that, and Isa said, come on, let's do a break. Wait for 5 minutes, drink a glass of mineral water, have a chat with each other, and then restart again. And suddenly the wine showed totally different, because I was really, the tannin from all these wines have added up, so I was not fair to that wine when I judged the tannin structure. So sometimes it's really good to listen to your pal, not only stick to your own opinion.
Okay. So I am happy to announce our first import wine. It is Catena Cabernet Sauvignon 2011. It is Cabernet Sauvignon 2011 from Mendoza, Argentine. 13.5 alcohol, 16 months oak, French and American oak. 162, the catalog number. We can move. Next.
Good.
Incidentally, actually, Catena is a very highly regarded producer in Argentina, in Mendoza as well.
And the importer is Atco, by the way. Atco.
Okay, let's continue with wine number 14. So again, a wine that we both liked very much. Again, probably a wine which is a little bit more in the New World style that we had before. What I liked very much in that wine is that additionally to that deep cassis fruit that we find in the nose, cassis and blackberries, blackberry jam, there's a lovely minty or even balsamic character to it, which really adds complexity and even a touch of smokiness that gives another dimension to the flavor profile of that wine. There is a very good tannin management again with this wine. This is again a very tannic wine, but it's certainly produced with a very high level of tannin quality, high quality of tannin management, and it does have a lovely ripe blackberry, black cherry flavor, very velvety tannin, and a very good length again.
And there was also a reduction that was adding to the quality of the wine. Now, actually, smelling it, it smells almost like a claret. I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
Yes, the wine number 14 is from Chateau 2014. It's Syrah from Tekirdağ region. 14% alcohol, 5 months French oak. And we are lucky that the winemaker Gülçin, Miss Gülçin is here. 2014. Catalog number is 175. 175.
Şirazımız. Merhabalar, öncelikle hoş geldiniz. Güzel yorumlarınız için çok teşekkür ediyorum öncelikle. Biz çok yeni bir firmayız. Chateau ve Saranta isminde 2 tane markamız var. Kırklareli, Türkiye'nin en kuzey batı bölgesinde bulunuyoruz. Şiraz üzümümüz Tekirdağ'da benim kontrolümde, benim danışmanlığımda olan bir bağdan temin ediyoruz. Şu anda Kırklareli bölgesinde Şirazımız yok. Ama bu sene en kısa zamanda onun dikimini gerçekleştireceğiz Cabernet Franc'la birlikte. Bu sene Eylül ayında yapılan Trakya yarışmasında, Trakya'da yapılan Master of Wine'ların geldiği yarışmada da 1. olmuştu bu şarabımız. Gururluyuz. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Çok sağ olun.
Sağ olun.
So I said earlier this might be my favorite wine. Actually, this one we are going to taste now with half a point was my favorite wine. So the last wine, I don't know where it is from, and I don't really mind if it is from Argentina. That's okay. And I find it quite subtle, with high quality fruit, touch of tobacco. Palate is dry but juicy with good structure and long finish. And I find it quite classy and very sleek.
Yeah, we both agreed that this is our star of the day. This was the highest rated wine today. There's hardly anything that I can add. I wrote down quite spicy, savory notes in the nose with a deep and complex aroma, still somewhat closed. I mean, if you smell that wine, you can probably think that there is more to come. It's not really developed yet. There's still more to come. You can feel that there's great potential in that wine for further aging, as you can see in the color as well. Lovely, juicy, sweet tannins. You know, the tannin is not drying out. And impressive length. It's probably the longest wine we had today. And, you know, what is unique with that wine is that everything is in place. alcohol, acidity, tannin, fruit, oak, everything makes sense. Everything is in a reasonable place. So this is really a complete wine. The last word that I wrote down with this wine was wow.
Je suis d'accord.
So any guess about the grape variety? So this is the star of today, so let's guess. Üzüm tahminleri. Okay. Okay. So the winery is Madra Reserve Syrah 2014. It's from Gömeç, 14% alcohol, 24 months oak. And the owner and the winemaker, Didem Hanım, is here with us. 177. Evet, tebrik ederim. 177.
Merhabalar. Yorumlarınız için çok teşekkür ederim. Benim için çok heyecanlı bir an. Emeklerin tamamen karşılığını gördüğü. Bağlarımız 2012 ilk üretim yılımız. Rezerv serisi ikinci rekoltesi. 24 ay Fransız meşe fıçıda yıllandırıldı. Tamamen tek parsel, 300 dönümlük bir arazide sadece kendi üzümlerimizi kullanarak butik bir üretim yapıyoruz. Çok teşekkür ederim tekrar.
Ellerinize sağlık, tebrik ederiz.
So here you have it. And any questions or comment, please go for it and let us know.
Evet, sorularımız var mı? Yani buyurun. Ya da sizin sesiniz gür efendim ama. Şu uzatabilir miyiz? Pardon.
Before I ask the question of how would you define minerality in earthiness from earthiness, now there's another point of minerality. I always, struggle to find a reasonable or in a way agreeable point of view about corroded metals and metal. Some people describe wine in nose and taste with the corroded metals or the metal smelling of metal, corroded or fresh or aluminium something.
I think in terms of metal there are two old wine problems. You seldom see them anymore. One is called copper cast, the other one is called iron cast.
Mm.
If you have them in your wine, you have a big problem.
Don't drink.
But I don't think, no, you shouldn't because it's poisonous.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think any winery now has that problem. It's gone. It's a long sorted problem. But however, with respect to some other wines, for example, like gunpowder smell, you can get it. It would be related to sulfur dioxide. Nebbiolos sometimes, especially when they age, they can have almost like that sort of old irony taste or smell more than the taste. That's something with the evaluation of the wine, aging of the wine, you can get that sense. But again, it's not relating to any metal itself. It's just a descriptor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just it is in Germany, with Riesling, we sometimes speak of steeliness in the Riesling, but that doesn't mean that the wine smells like steel. Steel doesn't smell like anything. It's more the structure that we describe with the word steeliness. And again, with the irony character, irony character is sometimes also related to edine, like, a little bit like blood. And you can find that in some Rhonish wines and some Hermitage wines as well. But again, there is no actual metal in the wine. You get that edine character, and it's more descriptor than... the same thing with the minerality. If you ask a scientist, if I would have a Riesling from the Mosel River, I would initially smell the schistous soil. But the scientists would explain to me there is no molecule of schist in the wine, but nevertheless I can smell it. So it's not because there is some element of the soil in the wine, but the wine reflects the flavor profile of the soil in a certain way.
There is another question.
Here. I understand that you've tested more than 100 wines yesterday and today, and maybe more over the years. What's the greatest gap between the Turkish wines and the international wines? I mean, Isa mentioned that, you know, in terms of winemaking, we have reached a good level, but in terms of vineyards, we haven't yet. But what is your appreciation in terms of the gap, I was asking, in terms of both winemaking and vineyards, grape production?
With this, I think if one takes wine as a sort of a world that includes in it wine itself, the vineyards, the people who makes it, and the consumers who drinks it, and people who sell it, either in the shops, in the restaurants, or through their companies. So when we say wine, or when I say wine, in this context, I am including all of that in. I think the biggest gap, if you compare it, but I have to be careful here how I say this, because this is not true with every other country. It's like the very developed wine centers in the world. By that I mean London, UK, Germany, Belgium, Australia, US, Japan. These countries, because they have got access to every wine that is made literally in the world. And the consumer's appreciation is at much higher level, and the variety they have experienced is at much higher level. If you look at the market in Turkey, okay, if you want to buy anything other than Chardonnay, Sauvignon, Narince, these three varieties, you will struggle to find another 5 white varieties. That's a gap. But that happens because it's easier for the producers to stick to what sells, and the consumer doesn't demand new things when they are going out, etc. So the responsibility is actually both on the consumer and for the producer. One has to spur the other one on, and vice versa. So producer has to take a risk to produce something new, which is happening slowly in this country, and the consumer needs to demand things other than Shiraz and Cabernet. That will help also to go further. Increase the variety, I would say, but also open up, you know, get more wine in. Try to find a good German Riesling in Istanbul. Can you find me a bottle? Maybe 1, maybe 2, no more.
I totally agree. Turkey is a very closed market still for wine, and it would be a great benefit for the Turkish wine scene if you face more international competition with your wines. Because, I mean, you do have wine on international standards, as most of these have shown, but you know, competition is something that is really good for winemakers and for wine consumers itself. So it's very important that the wine consumers and the wine producers in Turkey have access to more international wines and taste their own wines against or online with the international wines to see where their own position is and what is to be improved and what is already very good. So bring the international wines to Turkey and bring your wines to the international wine scene as well. Very important for me as a German. You know, probably most of my compatriots only think of Turkey as being a beautiful country in the south where they spend their holidays, but nobody thinks of a beautiful wine country. So please go out of Turkey, go to the world and tell the world about the variety of terroirs, the variety of grape varieties you have in that country. And that will help yourself to find your place in the wine world and to improve your wines even more.
But also, I think I want to add here something else. What I want to add is the wine culture needs to be part of the food culture, vice versa. So they complete one another. And for it to work healthy, so for it to work better, there is a huge responsibility on the restaurants and hotels who are offering wine to their customers. I find it upsetting to go to a restaurant and they tell me we only have one wine from this producer. Not one wine, but only this producer's wine. So as consumers, you need to demand more. And as producers, actually, you need to understand that being alone on your own doesn't really make you any strong. It makes you strong maybe for 1 or 2 years, but time will come, you will look around, you won't find anybody who is walking that walk with you. So you need people who is walking there with you.
Taner Bey, biraz erken mi soruyorum bilmiyorum ama belki son kapanışta söyleyeceksiniz. İki kişiden de Mr. Bal'dan ve Mr. Kamer'den bugün küllerin içerisinde ilk 3 sizce nedir? Ayrı ayrı söylemenizi. Dünküleri de katarak...
Toplayalım.
Peki.
Kağıtları toplayalım.
Topladıktan sonra...
Tamam, topladıktan sonra
Tamam.
olur.
Bir de ricam dünküleri de içine katarak overall'da gene de ikisinin de fikirlerini.
Tabii, bir saniye bekleyelim lütfen. Var puanlar.
Erken mi sordum bilemiyorum ama.
Yok, güzel soru. Şu kağıtları bir toplayalım ki amacına ulaşsın, yoksa şey olur.
Kusura bakmayın.
Yok estağfurullah.
Top wine from yesterday. What was the one we gave 95 yesterday?
Evet, şimdi yes, you may reply now because we are collecting the sheets. Efendim? Okay. Onu o zaman bugün yapabiliriz ama. So we don't have the tasting notes of yesterday. We can do it for today now. Okay? Tamam. Bugünü yapalım şimdi.
Okay.
Sessizlik rica ediyorum. Şimdi yavaş. Evet.
For me, the two of the 3 top wines have been today, and that was the number 12 today, and certainly the number 15. Number 15 is certainly the superstar today. Number 12 was the second best on my score, and then we had yesterday the one that was probably the overall top scorer.
We have to check it. I don't remember. Yeah.
That was from whom? 12 and 15.
12.
Today, 15, but the overall best was the one we had yesterday.
Which one was it? Do you remember? Selen is here. Selen may answer maybe from yesterday's results. Do you remember the wine that has got the highest score yesterday?
From us.
I'll get that.
Okay, Selen will check her notes. The numbers you are asking now? Hangi numarayı söylüyorsun? For today? 15 for Frank.
And 12.
For yesterday, we will check the we will check the notes.
What was your?
Well, for me, the wines that I enjoyed most today was the last wine.
15.
That's the one I enjoyed most. The Catena Cabernet, I have to stick with that because
13.
that was my second favorite. And then I actually liked the whites, pretty much all of them actually I enjoyed. But I think the Muscat, I will go with it, simply because of its purity and varietal characteristics. Anok, just very simple. You know what, when you are making a wine like that, it's very hard. You can't hide behind anything. It has to be right. So for that, I'm going to go with that. And yesterday, I remember, I think it was the Epic Merlot, no? Epic, Merlot, was it? Merlot, Cabernet Merlot.
95, that is. 95, that is. That's the wine.
That was your highest.
Yep. Wine 45 was that yesterday. What was that?
We will tell you the yesterday's favorite in a minute, but I think there were two wines.
Epic, yeah, it was Cabernet Sauvignon Epic.
Yeah.
Epic, yeah.
And then the other one was the Shiraz. We really enjoyed the Nuzun. That was very good as well. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Tabii. I will share.
And the other one was.
In couple of days.
And the other one was Kyra Vintage Cabernet. as well.
Kyra Vintage Cabernet Sauvignon also from yesterday.
But you need to tell the vintage. I can't remember. 2014, I think.
2014 Kyra Vintage Cabernet. Okey, ben paylaşacağım. Sizden ricam şimdi şöyle bir şey yapalım. Geçen seneden hatırlarsınız güzel bir fotoğraf çekmiştik. İsa Ron'un. Şimdi fotoğrafa geçmeden önce ben teşekkürlerimi yapmak istiyorum. Bugün son günümüz çünkü. Bir defa Selen'e çok teşekkür ederim. Çünkü dün ve bugün blind tastingleri götürdü. Sizin görüp ya da görmediğiniz gözünüzden kaçabilir. Aşağıda bizim bir gönüllü ordumuz vardı. Ordu diyorum aslında çok değiller ama bir orduya bedel çalıştılar. Süray mesela burada. Süray. Ve Şule lütfen. Burada olmayanları da temsilen Süray'ı Adım Adım Gurme olarak da takip edebilirsiniz bu arada. Adım Adım Gurme eşittir Süray ve kocası Doğan. Tabii ki bugün burada olamazdık eğer İsa ve Frank değerli vakitlerini ayırıp Türkiye'ye gelip bu tadımı götürmeselerdi. Çok teşekkür ederiz. Danke schön. Thank you İsa. Thank you. Ve son olarak da tabii ben eşime Ayça'ya teşekkür etmek istiyorum.